While on assignment covering an auction of John F. Kennedy's presidential memorabilia 2 weeks ago, Anthony Mason uncovered a story with a fascinating and personal twist. Anthony, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. I stumbled on this painting of President and Mrs. Kennedy sailing while wandering around that presidential auction and was stunned because it was painted by my stepfather 50 years ago. So I bid on it, bought it back, and then I learned the story behind it. The painting and the artist were reacquainted this week. You haven't seen this in a while.
Oh, you brought it with you.
My stepfather, Henry Kohler, hadn't seen his portrait of President and Mrs. Kennedy sailing since 1963.
And it even looks like them.
86 now and still at work. He was just 36 when the Kennedys commissioned the picture. How important a commission was that to you?
I guess a pretty important one.
So important that up in the attic of his home and studio in Southampton, New York,
Mind your head.
he still keeps a file of correspondence.
Sports Illustrated.
And here's the file attached to it. In it, a 1960 cover story he illustrated on sailing. Jackie Kennedy liked this painting of his. She saw this in the magazine right here.
She saw this in the magazine, and she wanted it to give Jack.
It was an anniversary gift. Jackie later appeared in front of it in this newspaper photograph. I love what she says here. It's by far the prettiest picture on our house and the only one I've ever given him that he really likes.
Well, that was quite a compliment, was it not?
A few years later, he was asked to paint the picture of the president sailing.
It was commissioned with two others by the Kennedy sisters to give their three brothers for Christmas.
He did sketches of Jack, Bobby, and Ted aboard the family sailboat, the Victoria. One of the Kennedy sisters went to his studio to approve them, but just after she'd left,
I had a call from Audrey, your mother, my wife,
yeah.
And she said, "Don't you have the radio on?"
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
It was the afternoon of November 22nd, 1963. The president had been shot.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
What did you think was going to happen to the commission after that?
Oh, I thought that was the end of the commission.
But you got a phone call?
I did get a phone call from the Kennedy office saying, "Mr. Kohler, how are the paintings coming?" I said, "Just fine." So I started to paint with both hands to get them done.
The president's Christmas present was delivered to Mrs. Kennedy. And then you get this letter.
Yes, a very sweet, almost thank you letter.
Dear Henry, Jackie wrote on black-rimmed stationery, you'll never know how much your painting of the Victoria means to me, and I shall treasure it forever. You are right in saying it will serve as a constant reminder of happier days. I call that a thank you letter.
It is a nice one. It could be a model for thank you letters.
But another letter would come from Jackie, a rambling note written entirely by hand. In it, she asked my stepfather to repaint the picture, to remove her from it, and to make the president vague and far away. Her secretary, Nancy Tuckerman, told him that in her grief, Jackie had been staying up late into the night, writing notes she wouldn't ordinarily have written.
Nancy said, "Just don't even acknowledge the letter." So I didn't. I kept it, of course, but I didn't do anything about it.
And you never repainted the picture?
No.
And that was the last my stepfather heard of it, until it turned up at the auction. The first question everybody asks is, why did you make the background yellow?
I just thought it would make a stronger picture.
Yeah.
And if you want a photograph, get a photographer.
That's Henry. Ultimately, Caroline Kennedy gave this painting to Dave Powers, who had been the president's personal assistant, in appreciation of his running the Kennedy Library for 30 years. And that's how it ended up in the auction.
Wow, and now it's back in your family's hands?
It's now in the family again after almost exactly 50 years.
Where will it hang?
That's a good question. I haven't even thought about that. I just wanted to bring it home. And I think I ended up having to bid the auction. There were so many internet bidders, the auction ran literally all the way through the night. Yeah. And the folks at the McGinnis Auction House kindly called me at 4:50 in the morning to say, it's up for bid now.
Wow.
And that's
and
when I
what
got
was
it.
your strategy to make a bid you thought
I was going to outweigh just about anybody.
Exactly.
And Anthony, you are going to be back tomorrow on CBS.
That's right.
This morning, Saturday. What do you have coming
We're going to
up?
be looking at 3D printing, the incredible phenomenon of 3D printing and how it could revolutionize all of our lives. And that's coming out tomorrow on CBS This Morning, Saturday.
All right, we'll be watching. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Love this story.